So fuck banana trees. It's a horrible idea to try to grow banana trees to stop wildfires. They're a terrible crop. Like, they're a blight on humanity.
That's going to be our intro now. We'll start right there.
That's fine.
The banana tree rant.
Yeah.
No context to it.
I just hate it when
Bobby with Wesley. No one knows what you're talking about.
I just hate it when nerds try to use nerds try to use fantasy to fix stuff. Like Elon Musk is just like, why don't we just go to Elon? Why don't we just go to Mars, you dipshit?
Speaking of turds with ideas, we'll be talking about giant toxic dumps later. Shall I go into my intro now?
And chairs for dumping.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're right. This is going to be a dump heavy episode. You're welcome, Wes.
It's going to be a heavy dump episode.
A heavy dump episode made just for Wesley. If you want to introduce us so people know who we are.
So, hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. This is those Muckrakers coming to you live once again through the power of the internet. I'm Pat.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Bobby.
And this is episode 113.
Man, you know what? It was like a big accomplishment to get to episode 100. And then I feel like the last 13 episodes have taken us as long to do as the first 100.
Just about, because it took us an entire year plus 4.5 months. So yeah, the amount of time it took us to do 100 episodes is about that long as the next 13. That is not wrong.
So it's all about quality, not quantity.
We don't have either.
Yeah, that's true too. Hey, you know what? We're like the Elon Musk of podcasting, right? We're like, why don't we just make a podcast that everyone listens to and it'll solve all their problems?
I think our last video got 17 hits on YouTube. I don't know how the podcasting apps are doing because I don't have any of them.
You know what? I don't even bother looking at the analytics anymore. It's just like at this point, I'm just making stuff.
It's goes like we were reaching a crescendo at around 80 to 100 listeners an episode before we went on our year plus long hiatus. The last episode on SoundCloud hit 15.
Yeah,
before that hit 17 though. So
listen, I have been telling all of my friends to just put it on your phone, turn it on. If you don't want to listen to it, just put it on mute and let it run. You know
what we need to do,
views, baby.
We need to hire that Chinese.
Tell two friends.
We need to hire.
It's not Chinese. It's Vietnamese. I will have you.
No, the Chinese guys that play Pokemon Go and all those videos where they have like 30 phones and they're just bicycling around the city. We need to find one of those guys.
Actually banned in China, but
we need to find one of those guys and be like, listen, I need you to download the podcast or stream it on all your phones.
That is the thing, a listener farm. I'm not kidding. They do it for hit songs on Spotify. Yeah, they just have rooms that are filled with old electronics that have been sent for recycling. Hook them into Wi-Fi, put them on Spotify, and then that's how they get plays.
The problem with that is
a very real thing.
That's what Trump's
old
Twitter account used to do. Vietnam bots just give them follows and stuff.
That wouldn't satisfy my ego though. Like I need people like writing me emails being like, hey man,
I need hundreds of Wesleys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, I have another idea. Let's get we'll do the type of listener farm, except they don't just like autoplay it. They play it while like outside on their phone, like on a busy sidewalk, and they hold it up to people's ears and just make them listen to our episodes as they walk by. So now people are still listening to it, just not the listener farm.
You're on to something.
Not make podocracy. This is a podtatorship, and you will listen.
You're on to something, but we need to do it like the old political cars did in the 1950s, or as they did when I was growing up in Georgia. We've got like two speakers, and it's all like, listen to those Muckrakers. And then it plays the episode as they just drive up and down town.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's going to be really confusing to people when like the car drives by at like a minute 45 of an hour-long podcast. But
still, they'll figure it out.
Bananas.
I mean, after a while, all these podcasts sound the same anyway. So, like,
yeah,
pretty much just three white guys.
Catch on to what's going on.
Just three white guys talking about stuff.
Well, that's what I have a couple of friends who are like, Bobby, you're so interesting. You should do a podcast. And I was like, white guy gives his opinion on the internet. Seems like a fairly saturated market. I don't think I'm going to start a podcast where I just talk.
My issue is it's like, I'm super happy that we're reaching a new level of like, we're pushing for equity and like, maybe we shouldn't only listen to like white guys and stuff. I'm just mad that I think I missed the high watermark of like white guy stuff, where you can just walk into a factory and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be a CEO?" And you're like, "Yeah."
That's how Tucker Carlson got his start. He just like walked into a newsroom one day and they're all like, "Hey, we have a career sitting here. Would you like it?" He's like, "Sure."
Yeah,
and that's what he's been doing ever since.
I don't want to do that. It's not that I want to exclude other people. I would just like to walk into a career that doesn't exist anymore, just because of who I am, not based on my merits.
Well, and it's also somebody tweeted this, or maybe it was a Tumblr post, I don't know, but they were like, "I'm just really sad to have been born into the era of fuck around, only to now find myself in the era of find out." Like,
pretty much. Speaking of fuck around and find out, today's first headline, did we follow this on one of the previous podcasts?
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh, with the Confederate monument. I don't remember if we started with
we
the first
brought it up. We mentioned it. I think I mentioned it as a headline, but
we've talked about it before. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
So like the Daughters of the Confederacy. For people who don't know what that is, the Daughters of
I'll say, just know, Bobby, you're gonna have to do the Lost Cause myth in like 30 seconds, because if not, we'll be here for like 4 hours with us just cursing at the Confederates.
Well, basically, the Daughters of the Confederacy are a group that has been around since the 1890s, but essentially they were founded as a way to continue the cause of white supremacy, not just in the South, but across the country, by framing themselves as, ladies who lost their husbands and sons in the war. And, oh, wasn't that war about states' rights really terrible? Oh, we should never have another war over taxation, should we? That was what the war was about. And
would it make a difference if we change the name of the Civil War to fuck around and find out?
No, I think it should be called the Southern Insurrection.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
And that actually goes into like a whole bunch of like, ass grabbing and jerking off goes into like, oh, Robert E. Lee was such a brilliant he was really good. Robert E. Lee was really good at strategy. He was shit at tactics.
I've got a whole thing about that where Stonewall Jackson was good. Robert E. Lee just happened to have himself a Stonewall Jackson until he got his ass shot.
There's a lot of myth making surrounding both of those men. Stonewall was a fairly crazy person. Yes. Like even his own wife was like, yeah, he was a bit screw loose. And Robert E. Lee actually
does my book show up?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good read. But you're right. No, yeah.
So the Daughters of the Confederacy are a lost cause group. They are the lost cause group. Yeah. They're the ones that really got the ball rolling, and they supported the first iteration of the Klan. The one that was going around terrorizing Black families directly. Direct action, and to keep them from voting, whether it was Republican or otherwise. And anyway, so they put up monuments all over the country, usually during times of racial tension.
They also got control of the history books. And we're able to rewrite the history curriculum as well.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have time to go into that. We're why I'm trying to get to the statues. So anyway, a lot of the statues and whatnot that they put up were just mass-produced bullshit. And it statues like generic Robert E. Lee statues in 4 different sizes. Come pick yours up. It was kind of like, Girl Scout cookies, but with statues of mass murderers. And
I'll take the ginger snap and also the whip snap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, No, look. I want some Samoans, and can I get a William Bedford Forrest as well? Because I really love racism.
So most of these statues, and it's why whenever, well-meaning liberals go, well, it just belongs in a museum, not on a pedestal. Most of these are, number one, not museum quality pieces. Number two, we have multiples of the same statue, and that's part of the problem with that. But we're getting off track. I've got to get through this. All right.
Yep.
So because I realized that I have been monopolizing talking, so I'm trying to stay on track. Stop distracting me. Anyway, so they are the group. They are pretty much the group that has been putting up these statues. But like I said, most of them are mass manufactured. They're not really, and they're symbolic, but there's nothing really special about them until they do something super big. Let me see if I can, this chair. So chair last month from a Confederate memorial in Selma, Alabama, of all
places. Yeah.
Went missing. And for a while there, no one knew who took it. Well, anyway, so the statue was a chair. It was meant for Robert E. Lee, like to sit on. And even though it was put up like 20 years after he died. Anyway, so this thing is 300, maybe like, it's not 300, it's like 400, 500 pounds. And it went missing last month. And just last, a group calling themselves White Lies Matter, L-I-E-S, not lives, but lies, like you are a liar. If you say it too fast, it gets kind of confused. Anyway, so White Lies Matter claimed responsibility for stealing the chair in a press release to local as well as New Orleans media. Now, there's a lot of speculation that this group is based out of New Orleans. They claim that they are trying to take direct action to fight the endearing legacy of racism in America, take it on directly. So what they did was they also sent out they sent a ransom note to the Daughters of the Confederacy, saying that if their demands were not met, that they would convert the chair into a toilet and ta-da.
Dan, this is my favorite form of terrorism after eco-terrorism.
Well, it's property crime is a property crime is a victimless crime. I'm very sorry if it's not it's not criminal. It should be handled civilly. But anyway, anywho, so but the story gets weird. So what were their demands? Well, their demands were that by this past Friday, which was well, no, not this past Friday, the Friday before, which was the anniversary of Robert E. Lee surrendering to General Grant, that the Daughters of the Confederacy had to place a banner on there. We're going to a third location now, Richmond, Virginia headquarters, which, by the way, was firebombed by protesters shortly after Charlottesville, which fucking go.
I didn't know that, but that's fantastic. And I wish if I'd known that, I would have gone and visited and just like taken selfies like next to it.
They lost a lot of stuff in there. There were like letters and things like that, but it was just kind of like, it's property crime. It's a victimless crime. You can go fuck yourselves. You should have spread, instead of keeping it all to yourselves, it belongs in a museum. You're not a museum. You're a hate group. Anyway, so but what they wanted, what White Lies Matter wanted, was for the Daughters of the Confederacy to put a banner on their headquarters with a quote from Assat Shakur, who was a Black civil rights champion in, I want to say, the 1970s. She was arrested for murdering, I want to say it was a New Jersey state police officer.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
I highly doubt that.
Another victimless crime.
Good Lord. Killing anyone in New Jersey is a victimless crime. But
especially a New Jersey cop.
So the story gets even weirder. So the deadline came and went. They were claiming they were going to make the chair into a toilet if their demands were not met. Oh, and here's the quote. Here's the quote that they wanted. I have it right here. Quote, "The rulers of this country have always considered their property more important than our lives."
Which
so very, very poignant. It's very, very poignant to, we're upset you stole a chair.
Right.
Over what the chair represents, which is what the group was trying to get across.
It's just weird that like they wouldn't put that banner up, because like that seems like people that support slave owners would be like, yeah, we're all about our property. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Not even that bad.
No. Well, you forget that this generation of the Daughters of the Confederacy are 100% convinced that the war was about states' rights, that slavery had little or nothing to do with it, and that the South would have just freed the slaves once they became an independent country. Sure, it wouldn't have led to an apartheid or a Holocaust, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so getting beyond that, because the story gets even weirder. Okay, so they released photos, which you can see here, of someone taking a shit in the chair. But if you really look up the photos and you look up the articles on this story, a lot of people, especially on Twitter, were saying that doesn't look like the chair. And in fact, White Lies
Matter. It doesn't look like a human. It looks like a mannequin sitting on it.
It's a person. He's got like pancake makeup on. They're hiding their identity basically with pancake makeup.
So I was going to say that really begs the most important question here that I don't think anyone's answered yet. Who would use a stone toilet that's been sitting outdoors? It would be cold. It'd be covered in spiders. Definitely mosquitoes would get on you.
Well, I mean, they stole it. They could have put it. They could have put it inside a house and gotten it nice and warm. Well, anyway. So turns out the photos that were released were not the actual chair. They were a styrofoam replica, but they in fact steal the chair, and they alerted, I believe it was Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, which is the New Orleans is congruous with its parish county,
right?
And so but it still has a sheriff's office, so they alerted them and sent them GPS coordinates to where the chair would be, and so they went and picked it up, and they turned it over, and they sent out press releases saying, yes, we took the pictures, but it's not the real chair. We actually cleaned the chair. We just wanted to get the point across that this is what the Daughters of the Confederacy actually stand for, etc. Especially with the secure quote.
I don't like that ending. I would have given the police coordinates.
I don't like it either, but it's also, if these people who have thus far remained anonymous, if they get arrested, what are they being arrested with?
That's right.
Temporary theft.
Temporary moving of a stone chair.
Temporary. I mean, it's burglary at best, but they did return said thing. Yeah. They could totally claim First Amendment, and they did mention in their original statement was these things are just toys to them, toys that they no longer play with, which is very, very true. I had a relative get super mad, for the listeners and watchers who don't know, I'm originally from Louisiana, got super mad that Robert E. Lee's statue was coming down in New Orleans. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, it's our history. They're erasing it. I was like, pretty sure they tore down all the statues of Stalin, and it's still taught in the Soviet Union or in Russia and the Soviet Union.
I live in a very Russian. I live in a very Russian part of Brooklyn.
I can't remember a single time growing up going to New Orleans on like a vacation or something, like a 3-day weekend or something. Go down and get beignets and coffee, and then going to the Aquarium at the Americas, the John James Audubon Zoo, and then we'd all end up under the statue of Robert E. Lee on Lee Circle with a packed lunch, and you guys would just regale the children with stories of the Confederacy. No, that never happened. We never paid attention to the statue because we're white people and we're not supposed to pay attention to the statue. That's for the black people to pay attention to. That was the point of the statue. They're not erasing history. They're taking a bigot off of a podium in the middle of downtown.
I mean, I know that all the Russian people I run into in Brooklyn, I know that constantly I have to always tell them who Stalin is, because they're like, listen, without statue, I don't know who Stalin is. Like,
can you believe Miami took down their 32-foot tall statue of Fidel Castro? The children of Cuban refugees now have no idea what happened.
It's not erasing history. It's just
not taught in school.
It's just about what you want to. It's about what you want to honor in your history. Just like, how many Cornwallis statues are there, like celebrating the American Revolution? We're like, we'd also like to honor the brave British and the Hessian mercenaries that fought to make sure that we stayed a colony.
No, and it's actually really funny. All these people going, it's a patriotism and yada, 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 yada. Yeah. The citizens of New York during the Revolutionary War took a statue of King George III, melted it down, and made it into musket balls.
That's the most. Yep, that's the most like patriotic.
We talked about that in the Washington podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot you with bullets I made out of a statue of you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, fuck the monuments. All right, so let's see here. So this was kind of an interesting news story I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to ask the question, how long would you be willing to go to jail for $1.2 million?
Ooh.
6 months.
6 months?
Yeah. Actually, no. Let me revise that. 3 months. 3 months. That's right. That was my original answer, was 3 months, because a human can endure anything for 90 days. So more than that, and it would really start to grate on me. I feel like more than 3 months would only be greatly suffering and damaging to me psychologically. But like at that point, when I get out, would the million be worth it? I mean, $1 million can get you a long way, but would it last me the rest of my life? It would give me several years off that I didn't have to work, but
I mean, you could definitely take 500,000 to live comfortably and put the rest away. But here's my question: which prison? Am I going to prison with Bernie Madoff, or am I going to prison with, or am I going to prison with a child seeking shelter at the border?
This is a good question, because I feel like, Bobby, you can probably answer this. The reason I asked this is because a former New Orleans dispatcher was arrested after refusing to return $1.2 million accidentally placed in her account. Now, the reason this story is bullshit is because she immediately moved the money.
The mugshot is beautiful. Her face in the mugshot is beautiful.
She just looks like this is bullshit.
Exactly.
What's amazing about it, though, she immediately bought a house and a car, but like they managed to recover most of the money. I think it's bullshit because you made the mistake. How are you going to go after her for theft? And also, $1.2 million doesn't matter to the fucking bank.
Well, and it's not a bank; it's a brokerage.
Sorry, a brokerage. Yeah.
If it had been a bank, she could have kept it. Bank errors in your favor is your money. Yeah.
I mean, according to Monopoly, it's your money, right? Like if it says bank error in your favor, you never have.
But I guess because you
don't go directly to jail for that. For drawing that card.
Yeah, it's the difference between a brokerage and a bank. I had this discussion with a couple of people.
I'm going to guess that.
Did she get to keep the money?
No, they want the money back. They're going to take the house. They're going to take the car. She lost her job, and they're probably
going to try to spend the money whenever it showed up. Like she used it to buy all that stuff.
Yes, immediately, and move the rest of it and wouldn't give it back. So
why didn't she move overseas to where she'd be outside of like where they could do something to her?
I don't know, but the jail. I'm guessing the jail that she would go to is probably Angola. Is it Angola in Louisiana, the big boy prison?
Yeah, Angola is the big one.
Yeah, Angola, which I think had the highest like stab you in the face rate of any prison for like a long time.
Well, Angola is also where Catholic nuns protest the death penalty pretty much almost every day, because Louisiana not only has the death penalty, Angola is where it happens at, and death row is located at Angola, and these people are kept
and she stole money from white people, so she's getting the electric chair.
Oh yeah.
She's a black woman that like got money from white people she wasn't supposed to. Yeah, they're sending her ass to Angola like that.
But anyway, and Angola is on a lot of like human rights watch groups because the state of Louisiana refuses to even air condition death row.
Yeah, because of course, Louisiana, they're gonna die. What's the point?
Assholes.
Yeah, holy shit! It's cruel and unusual in the 90% humidity, 102-degree weather of basically. So like Angola. Sorry,
oh my god! It sounds like my ex runs that place. She would just keep the heater on all the time.
I can't put my foot on the stream, so I'm like a person from Michigan who can just go. I'm from here. I have to do like a boot shape. So can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Angola, it's the like New Orleans is here. Angola's about here. It's just upriver. Well, it's upriver Baton Rouge. And it's actually right next to a gigantic nuclear power station called Riverbend.
So I guess the question is, how long would you go to Angola for $1.2 million?
Angola? I mean, if I was in minimum security, it'd be fine because all they do is farm.
Do I get to keep it, or do they also repo the money from me?
No, in my fantasy scenario, you get to keep it. I would not go to jail for any length of time for no money. Like that's dumb. Like,
but it's also a very good. It's also a very good thing for everyone who's listening. Always keep in your back pocket, just in case. Keep in your back pocket a list of countries that do not extradite to the United States.
Yep.
Yeah.
That do not extradite.
Absolutely. That's the first thing I thought. It's like if she just moved, she could keep
do a little bit of Googling into how to open an offshore bank account that can't be immediately seized by a shitty brokerage firm that accidentally gave you $1.2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, she could still be seized, but yeah, like she could have tossed like 500K into that and then like moved overseas and then she's good.
Yeah. Or exactly. I would have found a friend or a relative that you like trust and been like, listen, I'm about to wire you a shitload of money. If you fuck me,
not a Nigerian prince. No, I swear this is real.
If you fuck me, I will kill you because I'm gonna go to Angola if this goes wrong, and I'm gonna be coming over to whatever fucking country. But yeah, I felt so bad for this lady because like I felt like the brokerage firm should have gone like, you know what, we all made mistakes here, but we got most
feeling. Sorry, I was gonna say I get the feeling that the person you would pick would be like Wesley. You'd give him all 1.2 million, then you'd come back for it in a few years. You'd be like, Wesley, where is it? And he'd be like, oh, my dad found it. He bought $1.2 million worth of lottery tickets on it. He didn't win anything.
Or Wesley is the guy from the fairy tale, like, oh, I spent $1.2 million on some magic beans. Except they aren't magic beans, they're just regular beans. and now I'm going to Angola with no money.
No, they really were magic beans, Peter. I just ate them with my mashed potatoes. They were delicious. Give me
So yeah, that news story just gave me like that like how long would you be willing to go to prison for?
Life. Her face in the mugshot is like it's just
it really is bullshit how hard they're going after her. They really should have been like, tell you what, you keep the house and the car, we get the rest of our money back. We'll agree never to talk about this again because this looks really stupid on the brokerage firm's part.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Waldo, you wanted to get in and tell us to get into some serious stuff that's going on. And Jesus Christ, has it been happening?
His name's Dante, right? Right?
You know, honestly, this is going to sound really shitty to me. I can't keep up anymore with who's been unreasonably gunned down or murdered by police like this week.
So it's a new video out of a black guy in military fatigues. He's pulled over by the police.
Yes, I remember this one.
And he's pulled over and they walk over to him. A cop draws a gun and shoots him and kills him. And he like freaks out. He tries to drive off, but he's already shot by the time he's speeding away. Like he's running from people that are trying to kill him, which would be the police. And so the police's defense was, oh, we were scared. And this is where I'm going to dip into what Trevor Noah said about this. He had like a whole speech on it, which I'd like to lift and like paraphrase.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of it to discuss it because I feel like he has the best point that I've heard. First of all, he starts off by saying, you know, I watched that video several times and the only scared person I saw wasn't the police. It was Dante Wright. He was clearly terrified. The police said, oh, I thought that was my taser, not my gun. And that's why I fired on him.
I'm sorry. This was the like, I got my taser and my gun mixed up, but. Okay. I remember the details of this one now. All right.
So like, apparently that really is a thing. Like on more than one occasion, the police have meant to pull their taser, but pulled their gun. Maybe that's just a common excuse though. If they shoot someone and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'll say it was my taser. That could be it. Like it's a reoccurring excuse. Or maybe tasers feel exactly like a handgun. I don't know. I remember tasers being a little square box, right? Not handgun shaped.
Well, the ones
nowadays they are handgun shaped. Yeah, but they're
maybe
also
they shouldn't do that.
Yellow. Yeah, but they're also bright yellow and bright orange.
But my question is though, like, if you murder somebody and then your excuse to get off is gross incompetence, is that not
fired? Yeah.
Is that not still a crime? If I was like, I didn't mean to kill him. It was an
accidental death is clearly not homicide. Wait, it is second degree? Uh-oh. No, wait, is it third degree? Yes, third degree if it's accidental.
Somebody actually did some digging, and according to U.S. crime stats and police stats, this in 2018, an event like that where they mixed up a taser and a gun apparently happened in I believe it was 2018. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was just over 100 times. But not all of those occurrences were fatal. So it is not common, but it does happen. But also, yikes on bikes. My fucking God. Like,
I think the reason they said that, not because she actually got the taser and the gun mixed up. I think the police union lawyer or whatever representation got to her was like, listen, here's what you say. You got your taser and your gun mixed up. It's happened before.
But if you watch the video the whole way through, her immediate reaction is, oh my God, I shot it. Like, it can be accidental. It can be but it can still be, holy shit, we need to send this one away. And I
could just be flabbergasted that she actually shot him because she got carried away at the moment. I've seen an officer yelling at a black man, you know, get down, put your hands behind your head, and he complies 100% of the way. And then after he's all the way down and his hands are behind his head, the cop shoots him with a gun that's unmistakably a gun. And when interviewed later, the cop said, you know, why did you shoot the guy? And he's like, I don't know. He had no answer.
Well, there was that case, I believe it was 2015, 2016, of a caregiver of a disabled man literally in a standoff with, well, not a standoff.
Yeah, that's the story I'm talking about.
Surrounding him. And he's on the ground with his hands behind his head saying, don't shoot, he's disabled.
That's the one we were talking about.
And then they shoot the caregiver and he died. Like,
he was called for the disabled guy, but he shot the caregiver.
The problem comes down to when you're training people as if they're an occupying army or like they're soldiers, but you're giving them whatever dipshit local PD training and then turning them loose on the streets, but going, remember, everyone's the enemy.
If you give everyone a hammer, then every problem starts to look like a nail. So that's what they're going to be doing, is they're going to be looking for something to hit with their hammers. And that brings us back to Trevor's point, the point that I was actually going to get into, which is Trevor says the most common excuse he hears is that it's just a few bad apples in the police force that we got to root out. It's a few bad apples, but they're all generally good people. And he said, I agree they are good people. But, you know, he doesn't believe that the problem is that it's a few bad apples. He believes that the tree itself is rotten. It is not that it has produced a few bad fruit. It's not that it produces bad fruit occasionally. It's that it is producing exactly the type of fruit it's designed to produce. Otherwise, what we would be seeing out there are the good apples.
Right.
Which is not to say there's not good people. They're mostly good people. But we're not seeing the good apples in these situations saying, hey, you're choking George Floyd for a bit too long. Maybe you should stop. Hey, maybe you shouldn't shoot that guy. Hey, maybe you should stop doing this. We're not seeing police officers trying to rein in the officers that are the bad apples. The bad apples are killing people, and everyone else on the scene, because they're never alone. There's always a bunch of other officers there. Everyone else on the scene is not stopping them from committing these murders. They're letting them do it because everyone understands that the point is to keep poor people down. The poorest people are Black people, so Black people disproportionately become victims of the police.
Well,
the system is producing what it meant to produce.
Yeah, if you have 2 bad cops and 98 cops who won't do anything about the 2 bad cops or are unable to do anything about the 2 bad cops, you actually have 100 bad cops.
There was a whole article I read.
But it's also, no one finishes the adage, oh, it's just a few bad apples. What's the rest of the idiom?
The bunch.
The rest of the idiom spoils the bunch.
Yeah.
No. I found it's Pete, what you were talking about right at the beginning of this little segment.
About
someone
bananas.
tweeted, it's at Michelle_Norris. We interrupt the coverage of the shooting of a 13-year-old boy that interrupted coverage of traffic stop shooting of a 20-year-old man that interrupted coverage of Derek Chauvin's trial for killing George Floyd for the news that 8 people have been killed at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis.
Thoughts and prayers, too soon to do anything about it.
So,
can't talk about it.
There was a whole article. God, I wish I'd saved this article, but the person was actually, instead of all talking about the other crap with police shootings that don't help, they go, the problem is you actually need to go into police academies and you need to change the way and the mentality that they are training police, because they are taught, they're showed a whole bunch of videos where people get the jump on cops at traffic stops and all this other stuff. And then they are taught that the old this adage they have, that it is better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. So it is better to kill somebody, to be sure, and then be judged by 12 jurors than it is to possibly make a mistake yourself and get shot and then be carried by 6 pallbearers. That's the mentality they're carrying. So listen, Wilder, I'm sorry if you accidentally get killed, but you know what? It's better you get killed and he goes to trial where he'll probably be exonerated than you possibly kill him.
Yeah, because the 12 are going to look a lot more like the cop than they will the victim.
Yep. Generally, yeah. And so that's the thing. No one's going like, we actually need to shut down all police academies, like immediately, completely review the whole way they're being trained, because I was on the fire department for a long time. It was a very paramilitary organization, and you absolutely are fucking jazzed up to do what you were trained to do. I always said, like, we didn't want anybody's house to burn down, but we sure as fuck wanted to be the first one getting a taste when a house was on fire going in the front door. Change that over to policing. You hope a crime doesn't happen, but man, you want to be the one to kick in a door and put a gun in somebody's face, because that's what you're trained to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on from that. That's super sad, making me feel depressed. We want to do toxic waste, right?
Yes. So we had a choice between 2 stories. We could either do banana stopping fire or the giant toxic dump. And we chose this one just for you, Wesley. You're welcome.
And this is kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess a bit of a spread, but it ties into just
a bit of a spread, like cheese. All right, continue.
Yeah, it's what do you call it? Yeah, I didn't even mean that one. So they just recently found, I got to pull up the exact what do you call it? But the scientists basically have found a gigantic toxic waste dump site off of the Los Angeles coast. And it was completely forgotten about. Apparently, it is leaking a ton of like the chemical DDT, which was banned because
fun.
Yeah, because DDT has this.
Go ahead. I was gonna say this is Pete's Science Corner, by the way.
Sorry, yeah.
So everyone,
sorry. This is Pete's Science Corner. If you didn't know what DDT was, it was used in pesticide for a long time. But the problem is, I can't remember what the word is called, but it builds up, and then all the animals eat it, and every animal that eats another animal gets in the food chain. It kills them. It's horrible for the environment. So I guess when DDT was made legal, they just went slightly off the coast of like Catalina Island in California. We're like, why don't we just sink it? And then somebody, I guess, was like, should we seal these containers? And they went, it's the 1940s. Fuck them. Yeah, and so now they're just sitting down there, just doing their thing, getting into the ocean, getting back into the fucking food chain. And the problem is like, this is forgotten about. They just, some egghead scientists working for UCLA or somebody just happened to have a submersible doing something else. And they're like, let's go take a look. Oh, a toxic dump site. There are so many of these in the United States right now.
Yeah. They're called Superfund sites. Like it's such a frequent occurrence. We have a name for it.
Are they called Superfund sites because they're super fun?
No, fund.
I know. Being an idiot.
Because it's a special fund that I want to say the EPA has set up for dealing with them.
Yeah.
It's like a special congressional fund. Growing up in Louisiana, we have tons of them. Do you guys remember whenever the story about how Philadelphia had like a barge of garbage that couldn't be unloaded anywhere because like
that's what spurred on the modern recycling movement.
Yeah. Well, turns out Louisiana was one of the places that that garbage barge tried to go to. We were also set to be the burial site for 4 of the Ebola victims from like 2015 that had died on U.S. soil, and the state of Louisiana passed a law that anyone dies of Ebola, they cannot be buried here. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's racist. That's not." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Our state has a knee-jerk reaction to burying anything anymore because we are full. We're full.
Yeah,
we have also too many fucking burial sites.
Also, Louisiana and the water table, whenever it gets bad, bodies pop up and float.
The whole state, though. That's not the whole state. No. It was going to be up in the hills around Bossier City and Shreveport. Yeah.
I just think
Southern Louisiana is very low, but not
living rooms flooding and grandma's going down the street. No.
Why are we burning Ebola victims?
It does happen. They died, so they got cremated. And
yeah.
The state of Louisiana refused to take the ashes.
Just to be safe.
Just take the Ebola victims and bury them in Wesley's backyard. It'd be really funny to me. It'd be funny.
Look, I'd be happier putting those motherfuckers in a catapult and fucking launching them out into the Atlantic Ocean. Like dropping Ebola victims in Louisiana near all these water sources is how like a horror movie starts, where someone's like, "Whoops!" Next thing you know, Ebola zombies.
Or a Toxic Avenger.
Yeah. Like
could be superheroes.
There's so many.
Or Godzilla. Isn't that how that started? No, that's nuclear waste.
There's so many.
Well, mostly Godzilla got started because he was an ancient creature that had been dormant, and then atomic testing in the Bikini Atoll woke him up.
That's another great.
That was his
right. Would you call the Bikini Atoll a super fun site? Because that place is fucked up.
There is an island that the United States tested stuff on. I think it's the Trinity site, but it was so radioactive that in order to contain it, we built our own sarcophagus. You know how Chernobyl has a sarcophagus over it? We built our own. It is a giant dome. It's just a tiny, narrow little strip of an island with this giant dome in the middle of it in order to keep the Trinity site under control, because that was a runaway chain reaction. Yeah. They accidentally created a massive bomb that they did not mean to. I forget all the science behind it. Kyle Hill.
Well, my argument is, and this goes into change it to old Pete's Apocalypse Corner. So there's that show Life After People, and if that and the super fun sites have taught me anything, it's that whenever we go through whatever societal breakdown where like We're no longer managing like our societies like we should. All of that toxic waste plus all the new toxic waste is just going to be everywhere. So if it does break down, there's not going to be any like wandering the wastelands, you know, in your hot rod for gasoline. You're just going to be like bicycling around with lymphoma and tumors until you die.
Yeah.
Like that's the apocalypse. Like you're hungry, your head is 3 sizes bigger than it should be because of all the fucking tumors, and everything tastes like fucking oil. Yeah. It's gonna be terrible. So yeah, that's Pete's Science Corner. If you ever want to, it's kind of like when the FBI released the pedophile map, you know, where you could just like how many child sex offenders live in my neighborhood. Dude, if you look up, if you look up super fun sites, you'll be like, I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, you really now. Hold on. Super fun.
You don't want to because you're gonna find one in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's also, you know, those people.
Oh God.
Yeah. You know those people that like fight for like they don't want.
There's this many of them.
Yeah. So they don't want the storage of stuff like that in their neighborhood. But meanwhile, they all live next to railroad tracks that crash and drop that stuff all the time, and they're already next door to 3 super fun sites anyway. My point with Pete's Science Corner is we're all gonna die. Everything is hopelessly polluted. The only thing we can do is rely on Elon Musk to get us to Mars.
Well, on that happy note, I'd like can I do my news segment?
Yeah. Bobby, go ahead and do your news segment.
So in order to
Funhouse.
In order to lighten things up, this week we're going to start a news segment called "Everything in the Past Was Terrible" to lighten the mood. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is something that I think a lot of people have been. So through the pandemic, I have heard some well-meaning people that are like, you know, we need to wear masks, we need to social distance. I don't understand the people who aren't. We did it during the Spanish flu, and that got us through. But it's like, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We didn't. It was about the same ratio of people saying "fuck your regulations" that we're seeing today. We saw back then. So today I want to talk about a very, very fun moment in American history called the Philadelphia Liberty Loans Parade. Now, tiny bit of backstory. War is expensive, and the American government put it to the people to buy war bonds in order to fund World War I. So what was going on during World War I? Well, the Spanish flu or the flu of 1819.
Is a better name.
The flu of 1917, 1918.
Because, sorry, quick side note. The only reason it's called the Spanish flu is because everyone had it. Spain was the only country that was like, I would say either dumb enough or just like not dickheadish enough to be like, hey, we got a flu problem. Any of y'all got a flu problem? And they were like, oh, it's the Spanish flu. The Spanish.
Well, no, it's because the other countries that it was affecting were in war. Yeah. And they had censorship on the media. So like the media knew that this stuff was going on. The government knew that this was going on, but they, for fear of causing a panic or of hurting morale, they refused to allow the newspapers to print it or to allow the radio stations to broadcast it.
You ever notice that
once it got to our
preserving morale is they always do things I think that would hurt morale more than just fucking tell us. You ever notice that?
Yeah, exactly. Like Donald Trump saying, "Oh, it'll be done by Easter. It'll be done by. Don't worry about it. Coronavirus.
It'll go away like magic. Right now we only have 9 cases. So, it'll be basically 1 tomorrow."
The city of Philadelphia during the first outbreak was, I mean, they followed guidelines. You still had people going around saying, "Man, fuck this. I want to work, and it's not going to affect me." And da 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 da. Well, anyway, after the first wave was over, the U.S. government was going around the country doing these big Liberty Loan tours, which the Liberty Loans were basically you buy some debt from the government, you personally, not a bank, not anything like that, and you're going to help the war effort in doing this, which how effective it was still kind of, we're not doing them today. I'm going to put it that way. We're not doing Liberty bonds today. Anyway,
that's because money's not even a real construct anymore.
Going from city to city to town, they would hold these parades where they would show people what they were buying, basically. It would be a military parade. They had aircraft, sometimes like, little BP boats brought down the street.
This is what you bought. You funded this parade.
It's World War One. The aircraft were very rudimentary, and they had to take the wings off because of the trolley wires. But
yeah, that's why I was laughing when it's like, look what you've bought, a sop with camel. It's made of cardboard, kid.
Yeah,
stay away, it's flammable.
So anyway, in the week leading up to the Liberty Bond parade, the local naval base, which is still there in Philadelphia, the naval base in Philadelphia, it's called the Philadelphia Naval Yard, saw an outbreak of the flu. And so military leaders are telling, doctors and whatnot, hey, we have an outbreak here. We have an outbreak here. We
as you do, yeah.
We can't, that sort of thing. How do we contain it? How do we fight it? So then the doctors turn around and tell the city of Philadelphia, holy shit, they're having an outbreak at the Naval Yard. We cannot have a parade. You cannot, undo restrictions that are already in place. Like, we don't know how to stop this or how to fight this. And the city kind of toyed with it for a second and went, no, we're going to have the parade anyway. Anywho, 200,000 people, more than 200,000 people showed up for this parade in close quarters. No mask wearing, no social distancing, two things that had been advised. If you're going to have the parade, at least do this. At least do this. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, that seems total Philadelphia. Just like, fuck them. We're going to do what we want.
2 days after the parade was over. Remember, it's about 200,000 people showed up. 47,000 confirmed cases and 12,000 deaths in the next 2 weeks. It is on record as the deadliest parade to ever occur in the world, and that includes parades where, someone panicked and there was, someone panicked in a crowd and it caused a rush and a crush, that kind of stuff. It just,
Only fucking Philadelphia would not only trash their own city when they win a sports franchise game, but also
they would have the Guinness Book of World Records for deadliest parade.
Only Philly would be like, fuck the flu. You think you can fucking tell me to stand? Fuck you and your fucking Spanish flu. And then they all get sick. Fuck you, I'm not dying. I'm just tired.
I'm still laid down a bit.
What do you think? I'm scared of the flu,
it was a huge problem, to the point where most of City Hall got infected and was out of commission, and to the point where, as well as the police and the firefighters, who also of course participated in the parade, to the point where the women's auxiliary had to take over for a few days just to keep the lights on in City Hall.
This was also the time when science was like a lot more fluid, I feel like. And I feel like
we vaccines were very new. We didn't have a vaccine for the flu at the time. Germ theory was fairly well established.
But we had nothing to antibiotics were still really new.
Antibiotics were around, but
all you gotta do is go down to the local bleeder and rebalance your humus.
Yeah,
exactly. No, or go down to the local drugstore where they'll prescribe you bourbon,
or laudanum or some opiate.
Seems as though yes, of course you have ghosts in your blood. Here, let's do some cocaine about it.
I just like that the news was always like deadly flu, perhaps dastardly planned by the Kaiser. And you're like, wait, what?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fucking God. Only in Philadelphia. All right, so our last news part here is we wanted to bring back. Go ahead. Sorry, was that the end?
I was going to say, please tell me it's the bananas. I have such good antidotes for this.
Oh, no. This is, I felt bad. So I wanted to do a Dear Wesley. So the way we normally do these we take it, am I the asshole, or Dear Abby or something. And we pose the question as if we were talking to Wesley. And at the end of it, we workshop ways in which Wesley would respond to this and what Wesley's advice would be.
We also give our own answers to it, because if that's more fun, but also we'll come up with what Wesley would do to resolve it. And I'm going to tell this for Bobby and for any new listeners out there. Wesley was our original fan. Back when the show first started and it was just me and Pete, Wesley was the only person listening to us. So it's kind of a 3-person show then too, with 2 makers and 1 listener. And as time went on, we built up an audience, kind of, sort of. But Wesley always stuck around, and we just keep bringing him back and referencing him.
Wesley, only fan or dastardly planned by the Kaiser.
Wesley is a very particular and peculiar personality type, so he's a very fun character for me and Pete to imitate and bring up these things. So that is who Wesley is.
So this says, am I good? All right. So, dear Wesley, am I wrong for refusing to attend my best friend's unassisted home birth?
What? Yeah. No, God, that's gross.
Oh, let me get into it. Dear Wesley, my best friend is 27 weeks pregnant and has incredibly limited prenatal care. According to them, missing things like a 20-week anatomy scan, almost all the ultrasounds, and a glucose test is because it's too difficult to find healthcare while non-binary. So her friend is non-binary, and they apparently can't find healthcare that they feel comfortable with. I'm sure it isn't
cool, but I don't want to watch someone give birth. Wait, is this person like going to play doctor? Hold on, just there to witness it.
Just wait. Hold on. I'm sure it isn't the easiest, but I sort of feel like if you've committed to parenting, you've signed yourself up to having regular health care during your pregnancy, even if it's difficult or slightly uncomfortable. For context, they're white with private health insurance. Recently, I found out that it's been difficult to find health care because no one will take them on as a patient since they want an unassisted home birth with no midwife or anything. After basically no midwife or doctor for most of their pregnancy. Early on in their pregnancy, they asked me to support them during the labor and birth. Now that I know their plan is to skip any prenatal care during their pregnancy and home birth, I don't feel comfortable putting myself into that situation, especially because I might have to make a major decision if it goes south or be unable to. My friend is incredibly hurt, and I am refusing to attend their unassisted home birth, and they don't feel like I'm being supportive of their birthing decision, and I've totally let them down at an important time in their life. Dear Wesley, am I being an asshole for skipping this birth?
No! Oh my God! What the hell? Okay, first of all, I don't care about the non-binary thing. I care about the person refusing, like, a doctor helping them. Like, it's so easy to die when you're having a baby. Maybe, try to stay alive. And also, if you're not going to accept any assistance, then why do you need the friend to assist you? Why is that suddenly important? How are they going to help you, but it's still going to be unassisted? Are they just going to be in the room cheering you on? Do you want them to stare at your lady bits?
That's not
the lady bits of your non-binary self as the baby comes out? Like, what? Why? What is this?
It's not unassisted. You need to tell them that it's not unassisted. If I'm going to be there, I'm respecting your birth plan. But I mean, here's the thing: is like, why not have? I mean, you can do a home birth. There are OBGYNs and there are doulas and midwives that will do home births. Like, does it just mean unassisted as in like, I'm on the train going to work today, and all of a sudden, I'm gonna have this baby right here in the middle of the number 12 train heading into downtown. Like, what do they mean unassisted, but then they want people there to assist them?
They said specifically no midwife.
I've been watching a lot of the Alien movies and reading a lot of the the Xenomorph mythos lately. And I'm reminded of one of the books where like this cult stole some Xenomorph eggs because for some reason they worship the Xenomorph, and they all were all willing to become like alien hosts. And in the book, it was like, as the alien attached itself, the cult members thought, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake. Blah! And so that's all I can think of when this lady does the first push, is completely alone besides her dumbass husband, no help, and she's I've made a horrible mistake.
Okay, so I have Wesley's answer if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, what would Wesley say to this?
Oh, you see, I think that you actually are the asshole. And it's not because you won't show up, but because you're not telling your friend that she's a dumbass and needs to go to the goddamn hospital. You see, my ma had hernia surgery about 27 years ago, and she had unassisted hernia surgery, and now 27 years later, I'm still having to drive her everywhere. I should have just told her to go her ass to the doctor.
I love Wesley, but I feel like Wesley was probably an unassisted home birth. Like, I feel like the Wesley family
is one of those. She didn't even realize it.
The
3 days
Wesley
later,
family.
She wondered why the toilet was crying.
The Wesley family was like, put the pregnant woman in a tire swing when she starts having contractions and just push her until the force brings out the baby. That's how you do things in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
No, fuck this. Like, you can't ask me to be a good friend, but then be like, I really want you to go help me pick out chainsaws so I can then cut myself in half for a TikTok video later. Why won't you be part of that? Because it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's totally fine if you don't want to have a baby at a hospital, especially if you're healthy and you're getting regular checkups. But you have to have someone who's like, is this person had kids before? Like, have they?
It doesn't sound like
I'm gonna say no, because she doesn't realize what a nightmare this is gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
it's
mean,
also, you mean you don't want it to be professionally assisted. You want to guilt friends into your bad decision.
Which is weird because you have private health insurance. So like this is look, I'm gonna maybe this is gonna sound mean, but like this is some dumb, well-to-do white people shit.
Yeah.
Like this is some people
maybe,
that like
not well-to-do white people, but this is like some crunchy mama wook kind of stuff, you know,
like all you need is we're gonna light the lavender oils and that'll really help the baby, you know, with crystals.
It's people have been giving birth without doctors for millennia. Yeah, and a lot of them died.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you have to get an epidural or, you know, if, you know, vaccination is their concern for whatever reason, like, don't, you know.
I read this with a girlfriend, fiance actually told me about this, and I was like, you know, the number one killer of women, I think, throughout history has been men, but I feel like the number two killer of women has been childbirth.
Well, I mean, but what is childbirth but a dude killing a woman?
So that could tie back into like, but either way, like, why would you be like,
patriarchy?
Yeah, let's roll the dice and see if that happens. You know what I mean? Like, that's just Jesus Christ. That's like that would be like asking Wilder to be there as I got like unassisted is it appendiotomy? Your appendix out? Appendectomy. Yeah. I'd be like, Wilder, will you come over and hold the wound open while I dig out my own appendix, please? Why won't you support me in healthcare?
I mean, how much alcohol are you providing for me?
That's what I would ask the president. I'm gonna show up, but I'm gonna drink a whole bottle of whiskey. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, no, talking about alcohol and surgery, that's what we did before opioids.
Yeah.
Like literally for thousands of years, we were, there is on record a doctor who he holds 2 world records. One is for the fastest removal of a human leg, because again, you had to do it fast or the person was going to suffer. Right. This guy holds the record. It is standing at 17.9 seconds for leg removal. That's one of the records that he holds. The other record that he holds, so he was going to remove a man's leg at the thigh. Remove a man's leg at the thigh. This is like in the 1890s. Remove a man's leg like where the thigh meets the hip. Totally doable back then. It was survivable. He accidentally castrated the man. And upon realizing his accident, he overcorrected into the chest of a spectator who was leaning over the body, because this was one of those like theater.
Right. That's when you could just be like, I want to go watch a dude get his leg cut off and be in there.
And then pulled back and nicked his assistant on the neck with the scalpel.
Jesus, he's just like spinning around cutting people's wieners and throats off.
It all took just a couple of seconds to happen. The spectator bled out, the patient bled out, and his assistant had a heart attack thinking his jugular had been hit and died. It is on record as the only surgery with a 300% fatality rate.
That guy probably has a statue somewhere outside of college.
Like, at least
what?
They all died.
Did the leg guy die?
The guy he was operating on, the spectator, and his assistant, they all died.
Okay, that's those castrated, I would hope I died. Like
300% fatality rate and a surgery involving one person.
So the way they used to take out, I want to say it was gallstones, because there was a doctor that did this. I read a book on doctoring, which, by the way, don't ever read a book on the history of doctoring. It's just
the past was terrible. All of it, every last fucking bit of it.
What they would do when they took out gallstones for a man was they take your legs, they'd cut into your taint, and then they would like reach in there, reach in and like try to like find the gallstones and pull it out. this one guy in the yeah, like that, like from Indiana Jones, like the Thuggies. So
that's the word.
They said this guy was like a bricklayer, so he was really tough. And so he goes in for the surgery, and the surgeon was a really bad surgeon. So this dude's just up to his elbow in this guy's taint, fishing around for gallstones for 2 hours.
Oh, finally, and there's no anesthetic, and there's no anesthetic, and there's no anesthetic.
The brick guy went, just, you know what, I'll live with the gallstones. Just stop. Like, this dude would rather live with gallstones than have this man fishing around inside him for any more time.
Oh, man. No, it's just, all of the past was terrible. There's also the case of, I forget the name, but there was a quack doctor who was, well, he was a real doctor, but he had some quack ideas. And one of them was surgically implanting a goat's testicle into a human male scrotum.
He did this to a bunch of people, right?
Well, what do you think? To increase virility. That's
I mean, he did it. He had like a bunch of people he did it to.
But Waldo, you got to pick out the goat.
Goat sperm. It's just like going to be there inside of you, rotting. It's going to be rotting meat inside your taint. This was the 1850s. He had a really slick wagon that he was selling snake oils and goat testicles out of.
He's got to the next town before you realize your goat nuts don't work.
Right and center. Yeah, but no. There was a time, and it had a horrifying death rate. Most men died of their wounds from the surgery, but he just kept on peddling this and just going from town to town.
Because remember, with no phone, no internet, and a very slow post, basically, I sew 30 goat testicles into 30 men, and then I go to the next town. No one ever knows what happened by the time I'm out of goat testicles.
Yeah, and then there was another doctor who prescribed, it wasn't necessarily bed rest so much as it was enforced sloth. So basically, back in the time whenever, a woman said, I think we should be allowed to vote. And they were like, oh, hysterical, get her out of here. We got to send her to the loony bin. One of the treatments that they gave them was basically almost like a cult indoctrination to the only way to stop your hysterics is to lay in bed and do absolutely nothing. Do not move.
Extremely bad for humans.
Do not move a single muscle. Well, we know that now.
Because for a number of reasons, that's extremely
cocaine and baby formula. We didn't know it was bad for you.
Because this was the time, man. If you were a doctor with some ideas, if you were a doctor with some ideas, the 1800s to like the very early 1900s, was what a time to be alive.
Yeah. Because like I said before, you got ghosts in your blood. Let's do some cocaine about it.
Because you could cover up most things with like a prescription to heavy opiates and then be gone before anybody's like, I don't think that man was a good doctor. My body's full of goat testicles. Oh, dastardly plot by the Kaiser.
I think that doctor was the Kaiser.
Oops, I've got another one.
Sewed the goat testicles in.
Oh, you goddamn Kaiser. So I guess we'll leave you on this. Guys, go to the hospital. You don't have to have a hospital birth, but there are doulas, there are midwives. There's a lot of different.
They'll do, like, there are doulas and midwives that will do all the crunchy granola sandal wearing shit you want them to do. I had a friend of mine. She birthed twins in her own bathtub at her own house.
Just don't have a baby alone, because you don't know. I mean, again, anybody who wants to have a baby alone, I urge you to go watch all the movies in the Alien series and be like, and now you have to raise it as your own.
Yeah.
But
pregnancy in and of itself is fucking scary. I'm so glad I was born without a uterus. They are fucking complicated. They should cost $5 million a piece. And also, pregnancy is a fucking body horror movie. Yeah, it really is.
I read a lot of stories about women who have
you're growing another person inside yourself. That's terrifying.
Yeah, but also, I gotta say that evolution.
I'm just wincing here at the thought of surgically implanted goat testicles.
Evolution.
Audience, don't do that. We usually don't know what we're talking about. We do in this case. Don't put goat balls in yourself.
Mammalian evolution is stupid. The egg is far better for everyone. We should just be able to push out eggs and then go jerk off on them, and that's how you have a kid. Fuck mammals. This is the dumbest. You mean this has got to grow inside you and then you got to push it out? What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, so go to the hospital is all I'm saying, unless you can lay eggs. And if you can lay eggs, that's pretty cool.
God, imagine if humans could lay eggs, how much women online could like sell those for. Like, I mean, you know how much gamer bathwater costs, right? Imagine gamer eggs or gamer girl eggs.
Ooh, yeah.
Like you can make a mint off that if you're a woman and play video games. So there you go. In an alternate reality where humans lay eggs, there's your idea.
Yep. So guys, I was saying, just go to a fucking hospital. Like, God damn, especially if you have insurance and you can, like, you're so wonderfully privileged if you have private health insurance. Use it.
Yeah.
I know when I got my insurance, especially the good insurance that I have in New York City, boy, every time I go to the doctor, they're like, do you want a vaccine for? I'm like, doc, both arms, hit me with all the vaccines. I'm trying to get that super soldier serum. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, would you like
would you like us to park your car for you?
Yeah, I try to get anything that, like, I'm going to the dentist, like I'm getting braces I don't need, you know what I mean? Like I'm getting new eyeballs from the optimal. I don't care. Whatever the insurance covers, brother, let's do it.
It's Pete. Yeah. What was wrong with your legs? Nothing. The braces were free. Friggin'
exactly. When you live your life on like the don't get sick plan for your 20s, man, when you hit your 30s and get that insurance, buddy, like you're like, I got stuff I didn't even need. It's great.
Speaking of stuff people don't even need, Pete, hit them with the socials.
If you like our podcast, please, I know everyone says this, but for the love of God, find your own Wesley, tell them to listen to it, and have that Wesley tell 2 other Wesleys, and those Wesleys will tell. Eventually, we'll have an army of Wesleys, and we can continue
to success.
Yeah, we can continue to. Was it Bernie Madoff, the king of the Ponzi scheme? We can Ponzi scheme this podcast to glory. If you want to follow us, Wilder, what are our socials?
You can follow us Twitter at Those Muckrakers. You can also email us at thosemuckrakers@gmail.com. You can follow us on YouTube at 1310 or youtube.com/13post. We'll eventually do a YouTube, Twitter, or a Muckrakers YouTube thing if we get like enough listeners for it to be worth moving all the videos over. And let's see, if you'd like to support us financially, you can do so by going to Amazon and buying the Dusk Belt series. There's still just 2 books. Pete is copy editing the 3rd one. As soon as that's done, we'll have that out there. I have several others written for him to go through after that. It'll be a glorious day when those can start getting pushed out monthly.
Or if you'd like to start a GoFundMe or a Patreon in our names, we'll also accept all the money from that. We are lazy as hell. Hey, we put all our work into this. So the least you could do, start our own.
If you'd like to send us gold bars, as we once pleaded for you to do, you can do so by emailing us, thosemuckrakers@gmail.com, and we'll send you Wesley's real life address, and you can go to his address in person and drop off gold bars. That's our preferred form of currency and donation.
Yes. Also, you can always ship us green dot cards, Visa green dot cards, $5 green dot cards. Donations can be any amount so long as they're an individual $5 green dot cards.
Yep. Also, if you're going to donate the money, try to break it into increments under $10,000 because then we don't have to report it to the government.
Exactly.
Yes, that's actually very important.
And if there is a banking or brokerage firm error in your favor, please consider donating.
Yes,
please.
We promise we'll give you some of the money back. We're just out to fuck big brokerage.
That's how capitalism is destroyed. Just a whole bunch of banking errors in favor of people making $26,000 a year.
We somehow become revolutionaries in the banking wars of the 2020s. Lionized. Be fantastic. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Wait. Hang on. I got one thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have one thing. Guess what I did this weekend?
What'd you do this weekend?
I had 2 consecutive days off in a row for the first time in a year and 2 months. Isn't that nice?
Hell yeah.
Guess what I did with that time? I started my own YouTube channel. It's where I play video games, and it's called Captain Bobbers Plays, CaptBobbersPlays. And there's only one episode up. It is of me playing Cities Skylines.
Follow that, and we'll also try to link it with this episode as well, so you can follow that too. So we'll try to link stuff.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, share, ring the bell on this podcast as well as mine. If you could, that'd be great.
Also, if you would like us to use a Confederate monument as a toilet, please email us at thosemuckrakers@gmail.com explaining specifically which Confederate monument you would like us to use as a toilet and why, and we'll see if we can accommodate you.
If you'd like to steal a Confederate statue for us, you can send it to Wesley's. We'll again send you his address. And you can just show us.
Oh, these goddamn statues of Robert E. Lee keep showing up.
God damn it, it's Robert E. Lee again. Oh,
no, I love it.
Now. What am I supposed to do with them?
It's the same goddamn statue.
Whenever Rush Limbaugh died, somebody put up on the twitter.com. They were like, well, if Rush Limbaugh was so upset about gender neutral bathrooms, why is his grave going to be one?
You know, normally I don't celebrate anybody's death, but I made an exception for him.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep.
Oh God. Yes. No. And if you would like us to turn Rush Limbaugh's headstone into a toilet, please send it care of Wesley at P.O. Box.
I'm willing to go to jail for crapping in Rush Limbaugh's plot. That would be so great for our numbers. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be hailed as a hero. I get to go on Fox News and call Tucker Carlson a fuckboy. You know?
Oh man.
Great.
All right. Well, bye everybody.
Bye guys. See you next week.
Is over. Pee on a Confederate monument near you.
All right.